Okay, everyone, I'm going to get started and dive right in. Let us know in the chat if you're a student or a company looking to potentially work with DeepSense or just learn more about DeepSense. That'll help me kind of make sure the stuff I'm talking about is relevant to you and your backgrounds. So feel free to let us know if you have any questions throughout the presentation, drop them in the chat, or you can use the Q&A box, and Alyssa's keeping an eye on that as well. So we could make sure to answer them. This will be pretty casual, especially since we've started just chatting with each other. I won't see the chat, so I'll make sure at the end to stop sharing my screen and maybe I'll open the chat. There we go. Hello, I see someone said hello. Hi. Okay, now I can see the chat and I can see my presentation. So welcome everyone. My name is Lucia. I am currently the acting executive director at DeepSense, and I'm here to tell you all about what DeepSense is, how we work with students, how we work with industry, and how we can hopefully help support you in whatever, if you're a student, how you can work with us, if you're working in an industry, how to work with us, and so on. So you're welcome to, like I said, drop any questions you have in the chat. It should be open for everyone. So DeepSense, we are based at Dalhousie University, but we work with all of Atlantic Canada. So even if you might not be a Dalhousie student, that's okay. As long as you're a student in Atlantic Canada, there's opportunities for you to work with DeepSense. And our whole kind of shtick is join the smart ocean. And basically, we'll talk about what exactly that means. But first off, the big question is, why ocean? So we're based at the Faculty of Computer Science at the university, or Dalhousie University. And it's sometimes odd to have an ocean-based project or research group or organization like us in computer science. People don't necessarily see how those two work together, but the ocean is really important to everyone, not just people working in the ocean sector, not just biologists or fishermen or the Coast Guard, but it's important for everyone. So the ocean provides us with a variety of different things. So for example, about 60% of the oxygen that we breathe is produced from the ocean through tiny little plants called phytoplankton. About 3 billion people around the world get their protein from the ocean. And this is also really important for Nova Scotia, especially because the biggest export that we have is lobster. So lobster that we catch is a big part of our economy, and it gets shipped out of the country to different countries around the world that rely on this as a main source of protein. Love to see we got a lot of Dalhousie students with tech backgrounds. Perfect. Also, about 80% goods are all shipped across the ocean. So essentially any tech things we have, phones or anything like that, it is very likely that it had been shipped across the ocean. It's probably traveled further than most of us do to get to us. And it is all through our oceans. It's more efficient to put things on a boat and ship it across the ocean than putting it on planes. Even though planes would get here faster, you can only put so much cargo on a plane. So that's why we have 2 shipyards here in Halifax, and you'll see those really big boats coming in with lots of containers and trucks throughout the city as they're picking up containers from those shipyards. And then another important point about the ocean is that it absorbs about 25% of the emitted carbon dioxide. So there's a lot of research happening into how the ocean can continue helping us mitigate climate change, because right now it already is, but there are probably ways how we can help improve how we use the ocean to help with mitigation of climate change and how much carbon dioxide is being released into our atmosphere by us. So it is definitely important for these 4 reasons, the ocean, but also many other reasons, recreational reasons. People just kind of love enjoying the ocean, makes them feel better, helps with weather patterns. So it's really important overall. But these are just some main reasons that people don't even realize the ocean provide for us. And so especially at Dalhousie University, ocean research is a really big deal. So we wanted to be able to help kind of bridge that gap between computer science and oceans through DeepSense. So the global ocean economy contributes to about 1.5 trillion annually in value to the overall economy, reaching about 3 trillion by 2020. And that is through a variety of different sectors. So we have transportation and tourism, renewable energy, aquaculture, military and defense, through using sensors to measure weather data or wave or temperatures, and through autonomous systems. So the goal of DeepSense is to work in all these different sectors within our overall economy. So working with companies, working in transportation, renewable energy, aquaculture, military and defense, sensors and acoustics, and autonomous systems. And so the big question is, the ocean economy attracts some of the smartest people in the world. Shouldn't its technology be as smart as the people who use it? So that's our goal at DeepSense, is to work with those in the ocean economy and help support them and make sure that we are using the ocean, using the data that we have out there as effectively as possible, because there's so many opportunities to use data. So artificial intelligence and machine learning can help companies grow and innovate. So we talk to companies, we figure out how they want to use their data, how they are currently using their data, and if there's potential for an AI or machine learning project to help use their data. And then we actually connect those companies. We put together a project, and then we connect them with students like yourselves who are interested in doing internships, and getting that real industry experience with a company for either a 4-month project or a 6-month project. It could be a full-time, like a co-op. Sometimes we have students working part-time as they're doing their master's if they have the capacity with their course load to help work part-time. There's a bunch of different variations we have to best support the students. So that's what we're looking to do at DeepSense, connect those ocean organizations with ocean researchers and AI researchers. And together we plan to drive and commercialize job creation, economic growth in the ocean sector. So the way we do this is, like I said, we talk with companies and try to figure out what they need. So AI, as you know, can be used in a whole different range of ways. It could be from natural language processing, generative AI. It can be using computer vision. We could be creating prediction models or redundancy. We could be optimizing events. It could help with fraudulent events. We have a wide variety of different projects that we work on. Now, one issue that we've came up with was that companies, when we start working with them, or start talking with them, I should say, before we start working with them, is that they're not ready for AI. So one of the key things that you need in order to use AI is you need a lot of data. And so sometimes if it's a newer company, they might not have access to that data right now. They might not have time to collect that data, and they might still be pretty new in their whole data maturity spectrum. So we try to expand our projects to include those who have, or companies who are getting ready for AI. So we call those our data readiness projects. So these are more suited for people maybe who don't have AI experience, but have a background in data analytics, or data visualizations, and are looking to get that real world experience. And that is another opportunity in the types of projects that we have. So like I said, we'll talk with a company, identify an opportunity. So for example, I'm talking to a company called, I don't know, an ocean startup, and they have a bunch of data and they decide that they want to do AI. They're not exactly sure what they want to do. So we have experts on our team that can meet with them, figure out a project, and then we lay out that project. We create a job description, and then DeepSense, we go and find the students. So we're going to find those students in our student pool. And that's the best way, if you're interested in working with DeepSense, is applying to our student pool. So basically what that is, we ask you to fill out a form that answers some specific questions about your experience using, right now we've expanded it to AI, machine learning, some data analytics, and even cloud. You answer those questions, you send us your resume, and then as projects come up, that is the first place my team is going to look. They're going to go to see if there are students that fit the skills needed for the certain project that was set up. They will then reach out for a preliminary interview. They will see if you're still available, because maybe you've applied a year ago and right now things have changed and you are doing another co-op, or you have classes right now, and they'll see if you're still able to, then you'll have a preliminary interview to see if you're interested in the project. And then you'll have another second interview with the company who is going to make the final choice as who to hire to do the project. And like I said, the projects can range from a full-time project that could be a co-op or an internship for 4 months. It could be part of a master's project as well, if that's something you're interested in. And it could also be part-time for a few months too. So there's different opportunities of ways to work with DeepSense. We try to find the best way that suits the company and the student, because industry timelines are quite different from academic timelines. We try to meet everyone in the middle as best as we can. So that's kind of the scope of the project, finding the deliverables. Once we find a student, then you're off to the races. You are doing the project. We have our team to support you. So you're not, for most projects, you'll have a meeting with people from the DeepSense team once a week or once every other week. And on our team, we have AI experts, cloud experts, who are able to help with issues as they arise. So we make sure that you are supported, that you're not just doing all the work on your own. You can definitely brainstorm with our team, come up with ideas, do check-ins, because we want to make sure you have a quality experience that you're learning, but also whatever you come up with in the end is the companies. So they own that IP, and they want to be able to make sure that it is something that they can actually use. So everyone has to have a good experience all around. And that is when we then deliver the final prototype or example, and then operationalize and grow. And so that is the final step with the company. They get to keep the IP that was created to do whatever it is the project set out to do. And like I said, no matter your data maturity, DeepSense can help. So like I said, mentioned our data readiness program to better leverage AI machine learning in the future for some companies. So that could be a project that's around data mining or data analytics before it dives into the AI. And we make sure to remove as many barriers as we can from AI and machine learning. So a lot of companies that we're working with, they don't have that AI experience. So they're hoping to be able to get that experience through working with DeepSense. And I see a question in the chat about updating your CV that you might have sent to the student pool. Totally. Just send us an email. Let us know that you had already applied, but now you have a CV, updated CV. We can definitely update that in the system. So I'm going to go through some of the projects that we have to give you an idea of the scope of projects. So I talked about how they work, how you can apply, and these are just examples of some of the projects that we have done in the past. So we worked with one company one summer called Oxbow. They're based in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, and they're working with lobsters. So like I mentioned, lobster fishery is very popular in Nova Scotia. It's also very regulated, which means lobsters have to be a certain size before they can actually officially be fish. So you can catch them. Every fisherman has to measure every single lobster. And if they're beneath that size, they have to be thrown back in. Or if they're a female with eggs, they have to be thrown back in. But if they reach that, if they're the right size, they're able to be kept and officially fished. Now, to make things easier for the fishermen, this Oxbow company, instead of having each fisherman manually handle the lobsters using a ruler to measure the length of the lobster, they created a conveyor belt system that is using video images, live video footage, essentially, as the lobster comes through. And the system can then measure the lobster and give a green light if it's okay to keep, or a red light if you throw it back in. So this is a computer vision project that we were able to do help out with in one summer. And then it helps give the company a little boost and continue the work on their own. Another project that I also really enjoyed, another computer vision project, is about the North Atlantic right whale. So the North Atlantic right whale is a critically endangered whale. There's about 300, I never actually know, species or individuals left of the North Atlantic right whale in the North Atlantic. And they have been changing their patterns. So as we've noticed, our weather patterns have been changing, our weather's been changing. It's been hotter and warmer. This is also impacting animals in the ocean. And one of those is the North Atlantic right whale. And researchers are looking for better ways to track them, not just them, but in whales and animals altogether, but in this case, specifically looking to track the North Atlantic right whale. And so one project, a PhD project happening at Dalhousie, was using satellite images to track the whales. Now, satellite images are very pixelated and hard to see, like the example here. So essentially, there are, we paired up this PhD students with a master's student, and they were able to train an algorithm to identify whales and save her months and months of time of going through thousands of pixelated images of whales to help identify which ones actually have whales, and then she can go on further to confirm that. So a lot of our projects do use images or videos. So a lot of them are computer vision based. This seems to be a popular, especially for research, a popular method of simplifying or making research more productive for the research for those using these images. Another example we have is with a company called Glass Ocean. Glass Ocean, they are creating essentially batteries to replace motors on boats. So just like an electric car, they're doing electric boats. But instead of having to buy a whole new electric boat, they want to come up with a system where the boat owner can replace the motor that they have on their boat with some sort of battery system, and therefore have an electric boat. Now, they want to make sure that this battery system is super efficient. And in order to do that, they have to learn about how motors currently are using and how much fuel they're using and how they're consuming based on different weather patterns. If you're going super fast and super slow and going and changing between those, if you're pretty steady, if you're stopping a lot and starting. So they're right now are training basically have a boat, this boat pictured here, and they'll go out and just drive around in different weather patterns and trying different maneuvers. And the computer is hooked up to that motor to measure all that data. And from that, they can then optimize and make the most efficient battery based on that data. So right now, I think the actual boat, they've been training the data, getting a year or so of data into it, and they have now, I think, put in a battery, and it can now redo the whole training system to see and be able to compare with the past. So that is an example of machine learning, and an ongoing project that we have. And so there's probably opportunities for this one in the future as well. Another computer vision project that we have that is slightly shifting, but still very similar, is using video footage of mussels, which are the little blobs here. You'll often see them on your plate. Mussels are a popular dinner item. But in this case, they're also filter feeders. They're shelled animals that like to grab things from the water and filter feed, and they want to be in clean water. So the theory is that these guys would stay closed if the water was dirty, because they don't want to feed in dirty water. And like no one wants to, like us too, we have our preferences. We want to make sure we're eating in a clean environment. Same for the mussels. So the theory is that if there is a camera trained on the mussels and all of a sudden all 9 of them in this here stop feeding and are closed for a significant amount of time, that could mean that there is a change in the water quality. So it's an early environmental monitoring detection system, essentially. And so the student was going through all the footage of the mussels and determining when they're open, when they're closed, to be able to train the system to identify that on its own, and so that it could help create a trigger system if there was any issues. And that's what the company called Integrity. I believe now they're going to be trying the same kind of model using oysters. So they're switching up a different animal to see if there's a difference in how they react to the environmental changes. And then this is a popular project that we have going on with a company called On Deck. Very similar to our other computer vision projects, but these ones are identifying fish. So fishermen, as they are bringing fish on the boat, especially fishing in areas that are protected, they need to be able to identify those fish. And so, for example, you can see here, there are bounding boxes. Those are the red boxes around the humans, telling us that these are humans, but there's a pink, purple box around the albacore, which is a type of tuna, and identifying that. So this then makes it more efficient for the fishermen. They can just bring up fish, and that will get identified on the camera, and it also saves time for the biologist who is on board as well, who can just have to review the final footage instead of having to go on and identify on the boat. So again, this is another example of computer vision and training the models based on the images and image identification or classification, I should say. And our final example is Stella Maris. We actually have a discovery session all about the Stella Maris next week on next Thursday at noon. So check out if you want to get more details, but a high-level overview is basically like those mussels that I shared here. These guys are actually were at the time, I don't think they are anymore, but were attached to the Stella Maris. So this is this large platform that lives on the seafloor in the Halifax Harbor, just on the Dartmouth side, and it collects a bunch of data. And so, for example, they had the mussels with the camera trained on them that were hanging off of this. As you can see, there's a bunch of different sensors on there. It's constantly recording sound, so using hydrophones to record sounds in the Halifax Harbor, temperature of the water, collecting other water quality measurements, so that could help to use to determine if, for example, the mussel example, you can match that to see, oh yeah, we can see that the mussels were all closed and the Stella Maris was able to provide data on the water quality, and we see that it matches up, so that could show that there has been an issue. And so there's a bunch of data coming off of the Stella Maris, and we have a variety of projects in the past that we have done with that data, and are looking to see if there are more opportunities to use that data and learn more about specifically the Halifax Harbor, and work with companies. So companies pay to have their sensors put on Stella, and we can help analyze their data. So that's an example of one. And right now at Cove, out of the water, I guess I accidentally might have removed that slide, but we have the Smart Atlantic buoy. I don't think it's the next slide. Nope, but that is the Stella. But the Smart Atlantic buoy is a system of buoys that live along the East Coast in Canada, collecting data. And we are creating a prediction model for the Smart Atlantic buoy that's at the front of the Halifax Harbor. This buoy, when it's online, it's what the Halifax Port Authority uses to determine if it's safe for a ship to come in to the harbor. And the question is, if there's a storm or a reason that this goes offline, how will they be able to determine if it's safe for a ship to come in? So we have created a prediction model using historical data and using data from the other buoys to help determine if it's safe for a ship to come in the buoy. And so that is a prediction model that we've been working on our own. No company attached to that one, but the students work right with the DeepSense team on that project specifically. So that's just a high-level view of a couple of our projects that we have going on. You can dive into more of our past projects on our website. We have them all listed there. And we have some cool things happening in Halifax in the future. So you might have heard, I feel like last week was another official announcement of it, but NATO's Diana, which is essentially Defense Accelerator Hub, is creating an office in Halifax, and that's going to bring a lot of companies and a lot more opportunities for us to work with these companies in Halifax. So that's really exciting. At Dalhousie, they had just announced this past summer the Transforming Climate Action, which is a large grant that DeepSense is involved in. That's going to be research involved in there and projects around that as well. And then finally, with Cove, where the Stella Maris is located, they have a lot of cool initiatives around the digital harbor. So we had a discovery session about that in September this year, where basically they have a bunch of different case studies that we are involved in and are going to need some students to help crunch the data and do the AI. So those are kind of, plus we're still working with companies and looking for opportunities with companies. So there's definitely lots of opportunities with DeepSense going forward. And the way we help outside of the applied research projects, we also work with students in a variety of different ways as well. So applied research and internship, this includes, like I said, our AI projects, our data readiness projects, and we are doing a pilot project this coming January of helping companies use or migrate to cloud. And so we'll see, there might be some more opportunities of that in the future, but right now, not as much on the cloud stuff, but we are working with other companies who are looking for students in cloud as well. That's another thing I should mention. So we are based at the pier. That is where our main office is, and the pier is a space run by the Port of Halifax, and it involves many companies that are interested or that are currently working in the ocean space in some way, usually around ships or boats or shipping, logistics, anything like that. And so a lot of these companies, they know that we have a large student pool. So they have come to us in the past. And if they ever need a student that's not a DeepSense project, but they're like, oh, we have this position, we're looking for a student to start ASAP. They'll often come to us and ask to see if there's anyone that we suggest. So that's another reason I suggest throwing your resume into our student pool. There's no guarantee. Right now we have over 300 students in the student pool who are applicable for internships right now. But doesn't mean that there's not a chance that you can get pulled for an interview and potentially for a job. And some of the companies that we work with, a lot of times they will hire the students on full time. Again, no guarantee. Sometimes the project just ends, but if you're close to graduation, that is an option where they will hire you on full time, which is great. Like I said, we have our student pool. I believe Alyssa earlier dropped the link in the chat. This is for any student, current undergraduate or graduate student in Atlantic Canada who is interested in working with DeepSense. Like I said, the topic range from data strategy, processing, advanced analytics, visualizations, AI, machine learning, and I should update that to include cloud as well. But there's opportunities. We do have the possibility of us funding your projects as well. Any internship you get with DeepSense will be funded. We'll figure out who's funding it before you start the deep internship. So that's more on the company side. But there are opportunities for full funding through DeepSense or partial funding as well. Excuse me. We also have a mentorship program called STEM Connector. So STEM Connector is a Flash mentorship program. And it's different from your traditional mentorship programs because Flash mentorship means it's kind of one-on-one meeting. So instead of having a formal mentorship relationship with one person that you meet with maybe once a month for a year, this is more so you are interested in meeting with one mentor and have very specific questions about maybe their career, how they got started. For example, I had someone reach out to me through STEM Connector because they had a big presentation coming up and were nervous about presenting, and I have a communications background, so we were talking about tips. I had someone else reach out to me because they were having troubles communicating the data to their bosses, and so I was able to help mentor them in best practices and ways to do that. So definitely join STEM Connector. We have switched our model now. We're now on Slack and have mentors and mentees slowly joining that. We're trying to ramp that up more definitely in the winter time and get more people chatting on Slack, but also we do a lot of events. So we have an event next week, a mentorship panel with people talking about successful mentorship relationships happening next Tuesday at noon. There'll be a link in the chat, there it is, for you to join that as well. We had a in-person networking event just this past Friday here at the pier, and we had another in-person event earlier in October as well. So we try to do about 2 in-person events and 1 online event every semester. So definitely follow us on social media. You can follow DeepSense on social media. We always post about our STEM Connector events as well. So this is a great opportunity I saw some people were interested in networking. This is a great way to grow your networks, meet industry people, and meet peers with similar interests as well, because you never know when a relationship could lead somewhere. And discovery sessions. So like I mentioned, we have the discovery session coming up next week on the Selmars. We had one about the Digital Harbor, and we usually try to do a couple every semester. So keep an eye out for those. We have a YouTube playlist of the ones we've done in the past, and they're a great way to learn about the ocean sector because a lot of times we found that students don't necessarily know what's happening in the ocean sector. So this is a great way to kind of get some quick tidbits, join in, listen in to what companies are doing, what researchers are doing. We've had past students who've worked on projects talk about the work that they've done in their projects as well as part of a discovery session. So there's definitely some great opportunities to learn. And I will say, that we notice who attends these sessions, and we notice who is active participant in DeepSense. And we, in that case, tend to be more likely if we see that someone is looking for a job or reaches out to see if we can connect them with someone. We're more likely to do that if we see that you are active, that you come to the DeepSense sessions, that we see you at our data challenges and are part of STEM Connector. These students do stand out to us. We do notice. So that's my kind of overall tip, is not just for DeepSense, but always kind of stay engaged, because people will notice if you go to events in person or online. And like I said, you never know where a connection might lead. A couple upcoming events. So we just had our Ocean of Data Challenge finish yesterday, but we do one every semester. So the next one is in February. Now, the Ocean of Data Challenge is a great example of getting connected with DeepSense. So basically, it's a 2-week kind of like a hackathon, but more idea generation. We don't expect anyone to have code, create an app, but more kind of come up with ideas. And the rule is that we present you with a challenge. You have to use ocean data to help solve the challenge or come up with ideas for that challenge. The winner of the challenge, I believe it was last fall, we actually connected him with a company that was looking for someone with his similar skill set that we knew about because he participated in the data challenge and then applied for a student pool. And then we were able to set him up with that company where he now works full time. So that's an example of being engaged with DeepSense. We see you, we see that you stand out, and if there's people who ask us for passionate students who like to take initiative, that is an example of when that worked out really well. And we also, the student that won the challenge in the winter last year, we actually hired her on as a DeepSense intern for the past summer as well. So always take these opportunities, because like I said, again, you never know where they might lead. So like I mentioned, the STEM Connector panel we have happening next week on the Tuesday, November 28th at noon. It's all about success stories and mentorship. The discovery session about the Stella Maris is on the Thursday. And then shameless, another promotion plug, we are planning an ROV event. So an ROV is a remotely operated vehicle, and this is a really hands-on event. So you actually get to make a remotely operated vehicle, which from scratch, basically you get to even solder a little circuit board to make sure that you can move it. It's basically a robot that goes underwater. So it's a 2-day event where you get to build it and then actually test the ROV in the water as well. So we did this for the first time last year, and we hope to do it again. It's a Friday, Saturday in January. And it's great because it's hands-on. So it's not just sitting at a computer coding. It gives you some experience of soldering, building something, working with students with other backgrounds to create something pretty cool. So keep an eye out on our social media, and you can follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, or X, and Instagram at DeepSenseCA. And that's where we're going to post any of these events that I mentioned, and registration links, just like you found this one as well. And we also have a newsletter that we're going to be revamping earlier this year. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be sharing a link for people to rejoin our newsletter. It's kind of been dormant for about 1.5 years. So we hope to bring that back. But that does bring me to the end of my presentation. I'll pause to see if there's any questions in the chat. Feel free to drop them, or you can put them in the Q&A box. But I'll stick around for a couple minutes if anyone has any final questions. Trying to think if there's anything I would have missed. Like I said, the links are all in the chat. Follow us on socials, join our student pool, join STEM Connector. There's definitely opportunities out there. Is the date for the next Ocean of Data Challenge decided yet? No, it's usually in February. We try to have it around reading week. No actual dates for it yet, but kind of around starting reading week and then runs for about 2 weeks after. So somewhere in that scope. We're hoping to finalize those dates in the next few weeks. But that's kind of February is when it's supposed to be. So keep an eye out for that. And it's, like I said, we don't expect you to create anything extravagant. It's coming up with ideas using ocean data, and there's cash prizes at the end, as I should mention. So you can win up to $750 per team. and you can work on teams by yourself or up to 5 people on the team. So there's a lot of cool opportunities there. Any final other questions anyone has? If not, you can always reach out to us on social media. We always have someone watching us, or you can email info@deepsense.ca. We have someone watching that email as well. But feel free to meet or reach out if you have any final questions. Submit to our student pool. And I think that's it. I think if we don't have any other questions, we can wrap up the session. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope you learned something. Hope you're interested in DeepSense. And I hope to see you at one of our events, maybe as a DeepSense intern one day as well. Thank you.